And I will let you share your screen. You did already, and I'll pop it up and get this just in case. Okay, now letting you drive.
Okay, let me show you something first and ask you what's happening here. I'm just gonna compute a point here real quick. And I'm sure it's something I've done, but I don't know how to fix it. And I've tried.
All right.
You see that?
Yeah.
The symbol's real tiny and the point number is
real big. Okay. Yes. All right. So
and
the first thing, yeah.
If I click on it, is line type scale? Should I be looking over here?
No, you wouldn't look at any of that stuff at all.
Okay.
For points. Just double click on it a minute and we see what happens. You get that editor, go back to the general. And it's all fine. Okay, look at the settings for a second, the tab at the top, settings. No, that's fine. All right, you can cancel that. All right, so this is, it's a matter of the point label size. Yeah, so if you look right there, let's look first under defaults. And I don't see any place to set it there. All right, cancel that. All right, if you go to the points menu and choose draw locate points. And there's your text size and symbol size. They look fine. All right, cancel that. And let's go back to that command you were just using. That was under Kogo.
Oh, to inverse?
Yeah, yeah, that one.
Okay.
All right, look at your O for options there. All right. Nothing there. All right, cancel that. If you go to settings menu and just choose drawing setup. .08. Okay. It should be fine. Cancel that. If you do a draw locate points, which is the points menu, sorry. Draw locate points. All right. And let's choose to make sure we've got erase and redraw. It's set. I see that. So then when it says draw range at the bottom, click that button and just type 231 and hit enter. And then hit enter again. All right, if I locate 214. Okay. So we now are saying that our scale is 1 inch equals 100 feet. All right, now let's see that. This is on layer septic. Was 214 also supposed to be on layer septic?
I don't remember. What, that's the one we just computed?
Yeah, no, that's the old one. That's this it's this one, right?
No, that should be on the boundary.
Okay. All right, so it's on boundary. All right, so that one's okay there.
Well, I mean, I went in and adjusted all of those. They all started out huge like that, and I went in to points adjust attribute size or whatever it's called.
All right, so at 1 inch equals at 1 inch equals 100 feet. If we were to plot that, and if our text were, say, 1/10 of an inch, that would be 10 feet. So this should be 8 feet tall. And I look at the text, let's see. Let's see, that's 8 foot tall text. So that's what those things should have been. But see, this is something like 322 feet tall. Well, golly gee willikers. All right, 231 should be on what? We don't know what it is. 231 just a temporary point?
Yeah, that's, we just computed that just now, just to create a point
Yeah.
so I can show you what it's doing.
Right, but it's not one that you need to worry about. So I'm gonna delete those. All right, that description is that. Symbol size, text size, boundary. 214, 231. All right. And not only that, but you see the point number
Yeah.
and the description, they're almost on top of each other. So their insertion points are going in okay. That's about how far apart they should be if they're plotted down here where they're supposed to be plotted, you know, around this point.
Right.
So what the heck is going on, Michael?
Another fine mess I've gotten us into.
No. This is, let's save this. Why don't you go ahead and exit?
And completely?
Exit Carlson completely and then restart it. All right, let's see what style we have set for current. It's called standard. It has a 0 defined height. That's all fine. If I look at what style is p text, also 0 as a paper text height. All right, let's just turn off the annotation. It's 0, that font. And oops. Let's turn off if it's on that. Wow. Those are okay. All right, you're going to ask me why. I'm going to tell you I don't know. So if I set, here's the biggest change I made was this. I got it. Okay. So somehow or another, we managed to mess up that point attribute ID number 1. So when you use that, it's going to be that. Now, if I go back to 0, where these are like that but italics, then we'll draw it. Looks like that one's okay. We saw that 2 was okay. It's only that number 1 that's messed up. So what we have to do is to redefine that block. And that block is this. Let's go to points. Let's set back our defaults to number 1. And we'll draw, locate 214. Should be giant. There it is. Now, let's see what that block is. That block is SRVPN01 or SPT9. Let's see. Come on, let's see. All right, I want to ungroup that. All right, SRVPN01. Wait a second, we need to. All right, so I want to look at another one. All right, there's a height of 8. All right, let's see. Then this should have so attributes. Okay. Now if I save, all right, so now when we do this, draw my key points. Wait a second, let's set my defaults first. Number 1. Then we will draw 214. There we go. And that is truly at 0.08 at that scale. These right here look to be too big. They may be what you want, but they're bigger than 0.08.
I just put them on the drawing so I could see them. I had to change them from
Yeah.
giant, so
I
just
see.
that.
Yeah, that's fine. So now you could do, I'll go ahead and just take 231 out. We don't need it, right?
Right.
All right, so you know how to manipulate those things around for size and such.
Right.
Now, so what happened was, all right, so let's do another like I 200 to 201. We'll do a traverse. Angle right 180. Say 150 feet. 0. Yeah, see, it's working just fine now.
So how did it get like that?
Well, what happened is that somehow or another, the attribute which you saw when we edited this block, that is a block that contains, it's a block called CRVPN01. You can see down here, over here.
Yeah.
And it has these 3 attributes called PT number, ELEV2, and DESC2. That's what defines, there's the point number, the elevation is not displayed because it was blank, and the description. So somehow or another, some command messed something up. It's very difficult for you to be able to change those attribute definitions graphically, by grabbing something and clicking on something with the mouse or anything like that. It's an almost deliberate, well, it is a deliberate act to redefine it. So some other command somewhere along the line got interrupted somehow or another, you know, when it was in the midst of changing stuff. I just don't know what might have happened. So, and it won't do us any good to waste any time trying to track it down either.
Right, okay.
All right, so now I love a good mystery, as you know, but I'm surprised that I was actually able to find that, what it was. So now you're good to go. Oh, wait, one more thing. I'm going to set back. We're going to go here to here, general settings, and we are going to turn the grouping back on, and it should do us.
And you turned something about annotation off.
Yeah, instead of making those, well, instead of making, see, when you use annotative points, let's do this. And I'll leave it on. I'll show you what it does. You can decide if you want to do it. If I say use annotation scale, and I'll just say support all drawing scales and set to the drawing scale, that's fine for now. I say okay, I'll exit. Now, that means when you draw anything, any kind of labels like the bearings and distances or point numbers and descriptions and such, they're going to do so with an annotative point block. And what that means is this: right now, I'm set down here at the bottom. You can see this 1 inch equals 100 feet. And it's got, you know, various settings you can add to them and whatever. Or you can also just go up here and set this, but sometimes they don't necessarily sync up. But regardless, we are set for that in the settings and drawing setup. I see that I am at 1 inch equals 100 feet, and I'm going to 800ths for my symbols, 800ths for my text. Okay. Now, if I were to draw locate points, and let's just say we'll draw 214 and 231. Oh, and let's see. $232, that's what I meant to do. All right. Now, 214, 231, and 232 have all been drawn with those annotative settings on. And here's what that means. If I were to change the scale from 1 inch equals to 100 to 1 inch equals 50, and then I, you know, may have to regenerate or something. Let's see, I did a regen all. I guess, well, it didn't change. Oh, it's not letting me change. That's only letting me set the list. That's interesting. Okay, so if and I did that by right clicking. So if I double click it, I can now set to a different size. So now I've made it 1 inch equals 50 feet. And if I double click that again, let's say make it 1 inch equals 20 feet. So you see how these, let's see, the line style, the line patterns adjust.
Yeah.
I'm not seeing the text. Adjust. Which I should have been. All right, let's try this.
Is that something you recommend? I mean, in your course, when you set up settings, is that something you have people
Right.
click on or click off?
No, I generally tell them unless they're really comfortable with annotative uh, reactions to just leave it off if they're not
Okay,
comfortable with it.
let's just do that.
Yeah. Okay. Cause, and it's something that I do a lot of, and I do it and like particularly in MicroStation, because MicroStation handles it just fine. But all right, so let's leave that off. And that's back to 100. This is back to 100. See, I'm just curious. You see, it never did change. And then we don't need those. All right. So now you can.
Let me do another thing here and turn off elevations.
All right, remember, and you can do that two ways. You can do it by freezing that layer, or when you say turn it off, then it's not going to ask you for it, or it also will not compute one.
Right, which I don't need it to do for probably 99.9% of my projects. So what I would need to get that to go away, I'd need to redraw 214.
That's a quick way of doing it, yeah. Now your symbol's set for the circle, so make sure that if that's not what you want there.
Well,
Or
actually,
it is, use it.
what it should be. And actually,
Should it be the one? Should be the one with the. There you go.
Okay. Okay. Now, what I need to do, I've got most of my line work done there. I've got some other things to do, but now I need to turn. I need to. Whoa.
Yep. Looks like that was. Let's see. What is this? See, that's all part of that stamp. This thing acts like it doesn't. It's not it's not redefining. It is Arial. This.
Should I just get used to stamping my drawings the old-fashioned way by hand?
There's something that's something that keeps messing with your text styles. Okay, now. I guess I'm gonna do this. Now, what's this a part of? Bar scale. Ah, come on. Okay. What on earth? If I insert bar scale, there we go.
What would happen if you just deleted that one and put another bar scale there?
I think that's what we're going to have to do.
Then there's something else there too, besides the bar scale, I think.
It's one that's called bar scale. It's also called bar scale. So there's,
Well, there's another bar scale under there. You can see it.
yeah. All right. Yeah, what scale is this going to be?
100.
Okay. Well, for what that's worth. Okay.
Okay, now while we're here, before I forget it, I need to get rid of that location inset.
Okay. This up here.
You just delete it?
Yep. That's a PDF. Go ahead and just kill it. There you go.
Okay. Okay, so now I want to bring that drawing into here.
All right. So everything that you're looking at right now is written onto this page. Okay, so those adjoiners that are called out, that north arrow, everything there is actually just drawn right on this page, the little Excel tables,
Right.
the notes, all that. So, you know, rearrange those or delete them or do whatever you need to do with them so that they're out of your way. And then, you know, and make edits to them, what have you. But to bring the geometry in, that's going to be done by use of this viewport. And if you see that red outlined
Yep,
rectangle,
right there.
that, yep, that's a viewport, and we created that. If you select it and look at its properties, see it's on a layer called viewports, and that has a particular color that is set to show as red on this page instead of everything black, so that you know that it's a viewport and it's not going to plot.
Right.
Okay, so if you should happen to lose that, go ahead and hit delete. Now, let's say you're doing a new one or whatever, and you wanted to create a viewport. Well, you can just type the word viewport or go to the view menu and choose draw viewport, all that, but you want to make sure that you're on that layer when you do it, or once you draw it, switch to that layer. So there you go, either one. So that lets you either do corner to corner, or you could have drawn a polygon, you know, a polyline of a particular shape and said, this is where I want it to live within.
Okay, so pick some corner here.
Well, right now you're going to pick the, yeah.
Pick nearest.
Well, you don't have to, you don't want to be on that. That's the stripe of the border.
Okay.
You want to just be somewhere in yeah, like in there. So click, now drag and go up to the upper right, and yeah, like right in there, something like that. Okay, now you've just drawn a viewport, but it's on the layer that was current called boundary. So select it and change that layer to viewports. Now that's not anything that's required to live on that layer. It just makes it easier for you to keep track of it. And change its color. Right now it's set to red. Change that color to by layer. Okay, now go ahead and press escape and look up in the title bar, or I'm sorry, in the toolbars at the top. You see right now the current layer is set to boundary.
Yes.
So you want to change that to like title block notes or whatever you want, wherever you're going to be drawing. So I see a layer called north arrow, one called north underscore arrow. I see one called legend, you know, so whatever you're drawing, you want to make sure you're on that layer. Yeah, notes is fine. Now, make sure your color that is set, not there, but up at the top. Yeah, okay, well, that did it there too. So yeah, you wanted to set everything to by layer. Okay, so that's good. So now anything that you put in here is going to go on that layer with that color and with that line type, etc. But now what you've done is you've drawn a viewport, okay? That is a view into your model. But whatever scale it happens to be now, I don't have any idea what it is. If you select it, you can see over on the left-hand side, in the properties, you can see what its scale is. If you scroll down, see it's got like, who knows? It's some custom scale and there's not enough decimals to show you what it is.
Okay.
So the way you want to set these, you know, you want it to be 100, but you don't know where it's going to be centered in your model. So the easiest way to do that is that you've drawn your viewport now. So now go into the viewport, double click in it. And now you want to double click the wheel on the mouse so that that does a zoom extents. Okay. Where's everything?
Why is that black instead of red?
Because it's, I don't know, just
Oh, because I'm on the
sometimes it
decimal
will.
layer. I'm not on the viewport layer.
Well, no, it's not that. It's like when you double click inside it, it thickens it so that it shows you that you're in it. But like, see, it is on viewports. If I were to be on layer viewports, when that is, see, it's still black.
Huh, always before it's
So,
been red.
yeah. Now I can see a couple of little things. You see right in here,
Yeah,
there's some geometry in there. And I see like over here's a little bit. Okay. So that tells me that that's my zoom extents while I'm in my model. So if I go back to my model tab and do a zoom extents, you see that same thing happen because over here's most of my geometry. But see, there's certain commands, and if I select that and I see I find a point down at 0, 0, 0, there's a command or two, whatever, in Carlson that actually drop those points down there and they're stray. And I don't know why it does it, but there they are. So with those selected now, go ahead and press delete. And now do your double wheel click. All right, so now there's your extents, okay? So now
Okay.
let's go back to our layout tab. And by the way, if you, let's right click that layout tab down at the bottom and choose page setup.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Right click what?
The ANSI 17X22. Yes, right click and choose page setup manager and hit modify. All right, so right now it is set up to be an ANSI page sheet, and that's fine as long as you know that that's what you want to plot. If you want to plot a D size sheet or an 8.5 by 11 or whatever, then you could do, then you would set your paper size here as well.
Okay.
But now what you're putting there now, that page setup name,
Yeah.
that's fine. You can go ahead and say okay, and I'll show you where that shows up. See, it makes a list here so that you know that that was a setup definition that you made called Gibson minor subdivision. So you can say close, and you see the tab down at the bottom still never changed.
Right.
That's not what that is. That's the name of the tab or name of the layout. So right click that and choose rename. Yep. And then call that whatever you want to call it. You might, you know, I often put my page sizes, my sheet sizes, if I'm in a file that has different sheet sizes. But if they're all the same, then I'll call it, you know, like site plan,
Final plat should all be the
drainage.
same.
Okay, then that, now you got a space there, so it'll,
Take the space out.
well, not, no, I mean at the end. You had final PLAT space. There you go. There you go. Okay. So now that's it. That's the name of that sheet. Okay.
Okay.
So now,
Click in it.
now go back and double click in it. And now double click the wheel so that it does a zoom extents. Now we're getting somewhere. All right. And now, just like when you're in model space, because we have not yet locked our viewport, while you're in it, you can press and hold the wheel and pan the drawing. So do that to where the drawing's about in the center. There you go. And do you want the orientation of this to be with north straight up? It's going to be like that, or you can rotate it so that the length of the layout is sort of lined up with the viewport in the sheet.
It probably wouldn't make any difference in this case, but that's something I ought to learn how to do.
All right. So let's say if we want to make that bottom, well, what is the easterly line? If that wants to be the bottom of our little map.
This line,
Yeah.
well, I was thinking about making it the side rather than the bottom.
Making that vertical instead of,
Yeah.
okay. All right. So, well, yeah, you can do that for sure.
The size of the thing and whether it'll fit or not.
Yeah, but see, that's the thing. You look at the shape of it, and it's longer than it is wide.
Yeah.
And that sort of, you would sort of want to rotate that up and match the shape of the viewport.
Okay.
Not necessarily, but you know, if that's a road out there that everybody knows, that's Main Street, so that's the way you want to present your map. It's just think about it in terms of drawing a map. How would you draw this on a final plat sheet? And if that side needs to be straight up and down on the page, that's perfectly fine. Not a thing wrong with that. Okay. So, but what you would do is you would, whenever you're ready to make that happen, go to your view menu and you want to choose twist screen. Okay. And now what you're going to find is you want to choose a line or a polyline or a piece of text that you want to line up. So if you choose that line, let's choose the second one down. Okay. Now pick a line, a polyline, or a piece of text. So you pick that line over there that you want to, yeah, there you go. Now, the twist azimuth for that selected line, right now its default would say that makes it east, but you want to make it north, so you would say 0.
Well, I would actually rather make it south.
Let me make it 180.
Have this up the page.
Huh?
Okay, well, let's just see what 0 does. So hit enter.
It makes, yeah, it makes the line that you picked be at 0 azimuth.
Okay.
Well, except probably because the line was created in the opposite direction. Okay, so it went south. It made that line south instead of north.
So undo.
Now wait, no, you can just fix it here. Just repeat the command. Now pick a line again, and I would just pick that same line again and grab the other end of it. Well, that's all right. All right, so now what azimuth for that line? Right now, you said 0, so let's say 180. And hit enter. All right, try it again. and pick the line. Now type 0. All right, that's more what you were looking for. I don't know what it depends on where you see. It depends on where you pick the line, and sometimes you just have to do that and try them a couple of times to see. But you
Okay.
can also do, well, let's say you got that and it was not exactly what you wanted, but you say, all right, I like that, but I want it to be, 90 degrees around rotated around the Z axis. You can also do this command now, Z twist screen, and then you would do a standard, and you see you can do something like this to sort of set it like you like it, okay?
Yeah.
And not said I escaped it, so we didn't change it. But now that's what you want. Now you've got, if you see over here,
Yes.
That's where north would be. It's slightly, it's like pointing to 11 o'clock. Your north arrow, which is that arrow on the paper, is pointing straight up. And so it has no awareness of this at all.
Right.
But there's a way to do that. So while you're in here, while we're doing this now, let's go ahead and just choose draw 2D polyline. And we're just going to draw a temporary line due north. I don't care what layer or any of that. Just say okay. Just click. And now you want to go, it says pick a point or point number, or you've got arc, close, distance, follow, undo, all that. So we want to type D for distance. All right. And let's just give it, say 500, some that that you'll see it. Okay. Now, what direction? Cursor, line, picker, angle. So we know the angle. We want this to be due north, straight up. So we're going to say A for angle. That's the method. And it wants to know the code. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 through 9. You can see the codes above it, what they mean. So let's choose angle code 1. Yeah. And what is that northeast bearing? That's 0. Because it's north 0 degrees east. Okay. All right. So there you go. Now you hit Q for quit. Oh, excuse me. All right. And then you can just press escape or hit enter. Either one. All right. So that's now what you're going to use to line your paper space north arrow up with. Okay. So go up there and select your 3 things. No, you're still inside the viewport. See? Okay.
Yeah.
Now double click outside of the viewport. Okay. Now go up and select those 3 things, just like that. Press escape, try it again. There's something it's off on. All right.
Whoa.
Okay, now, well, you're going to have to disregard all of that mess right now because it was drawn when we had annotation on. Just sort of try your best to ignore it. I don't think if we turn this. No, all right. I was hoping we could make it go away, but we can't. All right. So zoom in up there and you want to type, either type M for move or right click and choose move. Okay. Now let it snap to a point on the north arrow. So like right there, make sure you're on that middle part. Click. And you want to drag it over and scroll down and point to the end point of that line. There you go, right there. Click. Okay. Now, we're going to rotate those three things to line up with that line. So we're going to choose the rotate command, which is either over on the right-hand vertical toolbar. That's it there, yep. And this is just a CAD command, right? Now, I want you to select the entities to rotate. You can just type P for previous. Okay, there you go, hit enter, you're through selecting. Now it wants to know a base point. The rotation point says snap to that point again, right? Click. Now, before you do that, before you change anything, you want to type B for base angle. So you want to show it the base angle. So type B, okay. Now the base angle, you could just say 0, you know it's 0, but just to show you how you do this in case it was arbitrary, you're going to show it the angle by clicking 2 points. So you're going to click that same point that you had the rotation. There you go, click. And now go up and get the tippy top of the arrow. That's the base angle, click. Now it wants to know the new angle. Go over there and grab that one and let it snap. Click. There you go, you're done. Now, while you're still here, you just want to move. So you're going to type M for move, or that, either way. Okay, select the entities. You got it. Hit enter. Nope, you got to hit enter to finish selecting. There you go. Now just click and move it up to where you go. And you can put it anywhere you want. Click. And now double click back inside the frame, because remember that line you drew was inside the frame. Select that and hit delete. Okay, now here's where we get to set it to 100. Grab your the wheel on the mouse, get it near the center of the property and sort of drag it to the center of the viewport or wherever you want the center of the property to be, okay? Like in there. Okay, now double click outside of the frame. And now select the frame. Just click on the edge of it. And this is where you tell it what scale that needs to be. And you can do that in several places. You can do it, well, I thought you could down here on the status bar. I don't see it unless.
Standard scale custom?
Yeah, I mean, you can do it there, but I was trying to find down here, there's a, hold on a second, let me see these. No, I thought it was going to give us a choice to put it here, but I guess not. So, all right, so back to where you're doing. So let you have the mouse back. So you select it, and now in the bottom part of that properties box, you see several things. First of all, whether it's on or off, and it's on, yes, that means you can see the stuff in it. Clipped, no, which right now it's just telling you that it's not, that's not a setting you can change. It's just whether it is or not, it'll tell you. And now the display locked right now says no. That's what allows you when you're inside it. If you roll the wheel, you're going to zoom in and out or pan the drawing.
Right.
So once we're set, we want to make sure we lock that.
Right.
Okay. Now the annotation scale is if we had drawn our text in model space using annotative text, then whatever scale we set this to here, it will resize the text so that it forces it to be the height that we wanted when we drew it in annotative size. Like we did those points as 0.08, which was 8 feet on the ground, 100 scale. But if we wanted to plot this as a blow up, say at 50 scale, then we want that, instead of being 8 feet, we want that text to only be 4 feet. Otherwise, the text comes up two times too big, or twice as tall as we want it for text. So that is what controls how it displays those annotative items. For now, don't worry about that. If you change that number, it will change these other things, but they can be independent. And these other things are the ones where we'll just go straight to change. There you've got a standard scale and custom scale. And so if you choose the standard scale and you pull that down, that's going to let you pick from all of those standard scales that were defined earlier. And there's your 1 inch equals 100 feet. Okay, so go ahead and choose that. Did it choose?
No, it didn't. Huh.
What's going on here? Let me see here. Yeah, see, why does it show up as? We're using the left mouse button when you chose that.
Yeah.
Huh. Oh well. So now it happens to be 1 to 100, meaning 1 unit in this paper is representing 100 units inside the model. But technically 1 inch equals 100 feet is not a ratio of 1 to 100, it's a ratio of 1 to 1200.
Right.
So just yet another thing that AutoCAD can't figure out. All right, so now, so you've got that set. Now, before we lock it down, you're gonna double click back inside it and you're gonna reposition things where you want them to be. Okay, now it looks to me like,
Oh, you know what?
1 inch.
Here, I've screwed up because I've got to show the. Let me dig out a plat here and look at it. Let's look at the model for a second.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got to show this whole piece.
Okay.
And I thought that looking at an old plat that Appalachian Surveys did, and it has that parcel on it. I was drawn at 1 to 300 feet.
Okay, and you're at 1 to 100, so all you have to do is change it to 1 to 300.
Well, no, the 300 was showing about 200 acres though, and the subject parcel is only 30. So I just did a.
Oh, I see. You wanted to see what it would be like.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's all right. So what you would do is go back to your final plat sheet down at the bottom, and select your the viewport. And so if 100 is too big, if it makes it too big, Let's select it and we'll go over here on the bottom and change it from 100 to 200, say. So go over there in the properties.
Over here?
Yeah, scroll down. See, it's 1 to 100. Change that to say 1 to 200. And sometimes you're not going to see that in this list, okay, like right now.
Right.
So you would have to do this now instead of doing it like that for now, at least. You want to go down, just let it off of that choice and go to the next one under where it says custom scale, and it's 0.01. So 1 to 200 is going to be what? Checking your math skills here.
I'm coming up with a blank.
All right, it should be, if we're going to go twice, we want to go from 100 to 200, then that means we're going to go down half. So half of that 0.01 is going to be 0.005. All right. And just hit enter. Okay, so there it is at 200 scale.
Okay, well, I'll need to move it up a little bit. That looks like that's probably
Okay.
what it's got to be.
Yep, so then double click it. Inside it, use your wheel, press and hold. Well, wait a minute, before you do that.
What happened?
Well, you're in, you see this green frame all the way around here?
Yeah.
You're in what's called maximization mode. So, and it clicked you into model space. So I'm going to, right down here at the bottom, I'm just going to double click that back to P. All right, so now double click inside it. All right, now press and hold the wheel. There you go, get it where you want it. Nope, now you just, yeah, see, but now you don't know what it is. You got to go back to the properties now. You have to double click back outside. Select the frame and go back and set that again to 0.005 under custom scale. Okay, hit enter. Now, once you have that, see, that's the thing. When you're using that wheel to zoom and pan and all that, or to pan around with, you have to be very, very careful not to wiggle the wheel or you'll change the scale as you just experienced, okay?
Right.
So then once you have that done, you select it and then you set display locked to true or yes or whatever it said. Or you can just double click it on the toolbar or on the taskbar. But select the viewport first. Okay. And now you see that padlock down at the bottom?
Yeah.
Right there. That's the same as if you go to over on the properties where it says display locked and you changed it from no to yes.
You double click it?
So, yeah. Okay. Now, so that's locked. Now, one thing you might want to do is when you when you did so you had that selected and you're over here choosing these standard scales and there's no scales, you know, the one that you wanted is not in here, right?
Right.
So to do that, you have to edit that scale list. And the only way that I know how to do that right now is over here in the model space where it shows up down there on the bottom of the screen.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's another way. I just don't know what it is yet. And if you right click that, then you can add and take away. Like if you don't want any of these architectural scales, you can just select them and take them away, all right? But so we want to add, so we've got 20, 40, 50, 100. So let's add. And so this is the name that you want to appear in the list. And you see right there, it's just going to be what it shows you. and you would type 1 inch space equals space space 200 foot. Okay. Now down below, it's asking you how many paper units, how many drawing units. So you're going to have 1 paper unit is 200. And choose OK. Okay. Now let's also do, let's see, you got 20, 40, 50. I don't know. You want a 60? Do you want a 10? You know, anything that you want, go ahead and choose. Then you can add it.
I don't know. For that, I just leave it, I think.
Yeah. Okay. But that's what you do is you make up a list and that gives you something to choose from. Now go ahead and say OK. Now go back to your final plat and select the viewport. And look at its properties. Okay, you see there?
Yeah.
Now, and I remember I told you that those things can be different, the annotation scale and the standard scale.
Yeah.
So this is where I would, once you have your standard scale set, go to your annotation scale and make it match. And this probably won't have any bearing on what you're doing now. If you were to say, if you were to change that annotation scale to something else right now, it will change the scale of the viewport as well. So you have to go back and sort of set the standard scale first and then set the annotation scale. Now, this won't have any effect on anything for you if you did not draw any text in model space that uses an annotative text style. But
No, I
if you
haven't yet.
did, yeah, but if you did do that, then anytime you change the scale, the annotation scale of this drawing out here, it will keep that text the same plotted inches tall. Otherwise, you have to, now if you change the scale, you would have to go back and redraw that text at, you know, whatever size you want, or after you've changed the drawing scale, then you would redraw it.
Right.
Okay. So
I'll
that's
send it
basically,
again. Okay.
okay, go down, right,
Out of that.
yep, right over to the right of that where it says M:, just double click it. And now it says P:, that's model space, paper space.
Okay.
All right. So now let me see what does.
Now let me ask you a question about the north arrow up here. That the way it is now, that's upside down. Can I just turn those words 180 degrees so that you're
Oh, yeah. Because it's reading, you want it to read northwest to southeast, right?
right?
So there's a couple of things. I would select them both. Or it's just one piece of text, but 2 lines. Okay, so don't change the arrow, just escape, just select the text. Now, rotate that. And just pick a point, just somewhere in the middle. Like I would, well, okay, you can do it there as well. Yeah, but you got to select it again or rotate and then select either one. Now choose rotate. And yeah, just right in there somewhere, click and just type the number 180 and hit enter.
Cool.
That's it. Now just reposition it, just select it and drag it by the grip. Okay.
All right.
You can also do that, Michael, if you say select, if you selected it and you look over at its properties and you see one of the properties is its rotation right here.
Yeah.
So And if you knew you wanted that to be 180, then you could, make that 196, 3750, or you can figure out what that plus the desired angle is, but it's just easier to grab it, pick a point, type 180. Okay.
Okay.
Now, do not forget all of those little adjoiners all over this thing. They're on your paper. They're not on the model.
Right.
Okay. So,
Wow.
and I'm sorry that it shows you all that stuff. It does it because these things were annotated when we drew them. Let's see if we scroll down. Let's look at our properties for a minute with that. With that selected, let's see. That if I look down here, see it's annotated.
Yeah.
And if I say annotation scale, see all of these ones that are here?
Yeah.
That's what you're seeing here. That's the size that text would be at each of those given scales. So you could, take all of these out except for the one that you wanted. I don't see my 1 inch equals 200 feet anymore. I guess I got to add it. There it is. And then what I would do is just delete all those and leave the one. And then my paper text height would be 1/10 of an inch now. So, oh, crap, where was that? Let's see. It went away. Let's see, select.
What is that?
Well, that's the text, but it's the text frame itself is all kind of whacked out. Let's see. Now I need to move it from there. Down to here somewhere. Let's see now. There it is. Contents. All right. Yeah, see, that's only got 2. This has got all those thousands. So,
Would it almost be better for me just to type them in like they don't exist?
no, you know what I would do to all these? Is I would select them because they're all in the paper, right?
I think so.
They're not, any of them are not drawn, none of them are drawn inside the model space. So I would just select them and I would change their annotative properties to no and make sure their text height is something you want, like there's a 1/10, then that should be fine. Now, there they are. It's not annotated and it's a 1/10 of an inch tall because you're here on the paper, which is in inches. Okay,
Okay, so that's what it's going to look like when I plot it.
correct,
Okay.
correct. But see, if we had done this in their model space, whatever we were set as our current scale, and we said, and we used that text like so that it would be, let's say at 200, at 1 inch equals 200 feet, a tenth of an inch is 2 feet tall. Okay.
Right.
So we would draw text at 2 feet tall. Then when we come over to here, if we were to change that viewport, instead of being 1 inch equals 200, if we said 1 inch equals 100, then that text goes from being a tenth of an inch tall at 2 feet at 200 scale. It stays 2 feet, but now we're at 100 scale. So now it's 2/10 of an inch tall when I change the scale.
Yeah.
But if it's annotative, when I create it over in model space and I have my settings at that moment set to 1 inch equals 200 feet, I type my text in, tell it a tenth of an inch, and then I go over here to paper space and I make this and I go, oh, I want to make a model file, but I'm going to change it to 1 inch equals 100 feet. Well, it reads that it knows when you say that it's annotative, you have two heights that you give it. You give it a model space height, a ground height, and then you also give it a paper height, a paper space height. And so you say 1/10 of an inch there, then whatever scale you tell it that viewport is, it will change the height of that text so that it would always honor the paper space text height that you've chosen. Okay.
Okay, Ken, I'm going to have to go. My cardiologist is supposed to call me in just a few minutes.
Oh, that's absolutely fine. So, yep.
And he's actually doing a Zoom meeting of his own.
Okay. Yeah, that's great. Anything else that you need, just give a yell.
To work on for a while. I'm sure I'll have to touch base with you again in a week or
Sure.
so.
Not a problem at all. Okay.
Okay. Well, thank you
Just
very
give
much.
me
Did you record this?
I did. Yes, I'll post
Good.
all that.
Good.
All right. Okay. Talk to you soon, man.
Thank you, sir.
You bet. All righty.